Welcome to video 2 in the series, What Does FIRPTA Refunds Do? My name is Richard Kahn, Director and one of the experts here at the firm. This scenario is 2 out of a possible 4 scenarios that clients bring us. This one is the pending real estate sale with the foreign seller, a U.S. property, U.S. buyer, with the foreign seller applying for a reduced withholding certificate. The initial real estate transaction is the first 3 scenarios that we present. It's the same. We have a buyer purchasing a property located in the USA, which for FIRPTA includes the territories and the U.S. Virgin Islands, purchasing from a foreign seller. The property can be residential or commercial. The Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act, FIRPTA, which was created by Congress in 1980 and modified by the PATH Act in 2015, is the law upon which the IRS requires the buyer to withhold 15% of the full sale proceeds payable to the seller. Example, a sale at $1 million, withholding $150,000, sale at $10 million, withholding $1.5 million, with very few exceptions, and remit to the IRS the funds that were withheld from the seller within 20 days of the closing. For the foreign seller, they can file a reduced withholding certificate with the IRS, and if they do so, the seller's withholding funds are not sent to the IRS within 20 days. Instead, they are sent and held in the title company or the closing agent's escrow account, pending the reply from the IRS. That reply takes about 90 days. Depending on when in the year the closing takes place, it may make better sense to simply file the year-end tax return with a request for a refund. This may apply to closings that occur later in the year. We offer assistance to our foreign clients to help them make that decision. For this scenario 2, the foreign seller chooses to file the withholding certificate request at closing, so we prepare it. The foreign sellers are non-resident aliens and their entities, and they are required to provide the IRS with individual tax identification numbers, ITINs. FIRPTA Refunds assists our foreign clients in applying for and obtaining the required ITIN, as well as renewing theirs if they have one that was issued more than 3 years ago. We will provide supporting documentation to increase the likelihood of a faster IRS response and approval of the reduced withholding request. The 15% withholding stays in the closing agent's escrow account untouched for approximately 90 days until the IRS response is received. At this point, the buyer is done. They go their separate way to enjoy their ownership. From the seller's perspective, the property is sold and the foreign seller is done with the buyer. All that remains is getting as much of the FIRPTA withholding back from the IRS as quickly as possible. The IRS should respond within 90 days. The IRS can approve a reduced withholding certificate, deny it, or request more information. The IRS decides. There are no guarantees, just guidelines. Poor or less experienced submissions and requests can cause complications and delays. Experience is a good reason to choose seasoned pros like FIRPTA Refunds. Where the amount is approved by the IRS, it can be handed over to the foreign seller right away by the closing agent. Any remaining amount above that amount will be remitted by the closing agent to the IRS within 20 days of the date of the IRS response letter. FIRPTA Refunds can then prepare our foreign seller's year-end IRS required tax return for filing with the IRS. Within a few short months after filing the year-end tax return, our foreign seller client should receive the balance of their IRS refund if any balance after an approved reduced withholding remains. At this point, bar any further requirements or requests from the IRS, the seller is done. It should be noted that the FIRPTA withholding is always going to be much more than the actual tax due. Video 5 in our series illustrates this what I consider drastic difference with explanation and examples. FIRPTA's 15% withholding of the total sale is always much, much more than the taxable gain portion of the sale, even when taxed by the IRS at 30%. And sellers who do not file for the maximum refund lose that money. After 3 years, the statute of limitations run out, and even worse, the IRS gets to keep any unrefunded FIRPTA withholding amounts for themselves. FIRPTA Refunds likes to believe we offer the lowest pricing on absolutely the best FIRPTA services out there, with the speediest response and result times. Experience when it comes to FIRPTA and the IRS really matters. With up to 90 days response times of the IRS, mistakes and undersupported filings can cause long delays. When the foreign seller finishes the IRS tax aspect of their taxable transaction at this point, they are done. Thanks for watching. We welcome buyer, seller, their agents, and or closing company inquiries when the need arises. It's as easy as contacting us for a free consultation. Don't forget while on our website to check out our videos online, FIRPTARefunds.com.